played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It is time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, joined by one of my co-hosts from the Cat Cave podcast committee, Shannon Smith, joined by another fellow wrestling podcast host, Mike from Mouthing Off with Mike, and then, of course, the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's producer, Desmond Johnson. You guys should be listening to us on all our different platforms, including YouTube. If you guys comment on the channel, your comment can pop up on the screen. You can get your own shout out. It's a pretty fun time. There's a lot to talk about. We'll get to another Top Rope Tuesday segment a little later on, but wanted to touch on the NBA because the Knicks ended up beating the Pacers last night, and Brunson just had his fourth consecutive 40-point game. We've also talked about Anthony Edwards and the streak that he's on. So right before we came on air, Des posed an interesting question. So wanted to change up a little bit of what we had. And I wanted to ask you guys, with Anthony Edwards on the ascent that he's doing, with Jalen Brunson ascending as well, who would you rather have on your team, not only in this playoffs, but moving forward? Shannon, I'll kick that off with you.
This is the part where I go into Des's show. In professional sports, a franchise player, I consider. Both of these guys are big franchise players right now, but I think I got to go with Ant on this one. Ant he's charging to the basket. We had the debate about who was the best two-way player in the NBA, and I think between him and Brunson, Ant's the best two-way player. Defending your best guy in the backcourt, getting back down on transition defense. Nothing against Jalen Brunson. Brunson's a lefty, and no one gets used to going against lefties, and that includes lefties. So it's hard to guard a left-hander, but Ant back is up and down the court 90 feet. I got to go with Ant, and by a pretty big margin, though. No disrespect to Jalen Brunson. Keep balling. He's doing great, but Ant.
All right, Shannon, and Shannon was on the show as well yesterday. You guys can watch it back on our Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. But Mike, you're a Knicks guy. Do you disagree here with Shannon?
I mean, I don't. It's not that I disagree. It's kind of like it's like an opinion, right? For a long-term thing, yeah. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he's been in the league, probably a few years longer than Brunson has been, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe same time, maybe a year difference. Yeah. But from what I've been seeing in the playoffs for the Knicks, for Jalen, right this moment, I'll take Jalen Brunson. Like, the guy's going crazy. He's scoring 40 points. He's carrying the team on his back in these games. It's 76ers now with the Pacers last night. So give me Brunson for the playoffs, but for the long-term effect, I would agree. I would take Anthony Edwards. He's proven, he's tried, he's true. What more could you ask for out of a ball player than that?
Yeah, and I wonder how far these two teams go. Des, you kind of hinted where you were going or leaning right before we went on air today for people's lunch break. Who would you take, Brunson or Edwards?
Well, I mean, it's a tough choice because both of them are really growing on me in terms of just showing up, just playing. Brunson's got this old man game. Like, it looks like he can't jump, but he gets to the spot like whenever he wants. He can get off the shot whenever he wants. And it's like the Knicks don't play with like huge star names or whatnot, but they know each other. I mean, it's 2016 Villanova pretty much. Like they played with each other. Josh Hart and Brunson were college roommates. Like, you can't duplicate that anyplace else. So that trust is allowing Brunson to have this extra level of confidence when he's going out there. But I tell you what, man, Anthony Edwards. I made them. Well, I guess it wasn't a mistake. I guess it was a blessing in disguise. Last night, I didn't start off watching the Minnesota-Denver game. I still hadn't watched the roast of Tom Brady. So I started watching that with my wife. And I didn't realize it was 3 hours long. And we got halfway through it, and Netflix started messing up, which is prone to do from time to time. So I was like, well, let me go back and check on the game because I haven't even been in it yet. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know the score or nothing. I pop up in the third quarter, and I come into 82-50 Minnesota on top of Denver. And I'm like, what happened? Because they didn't even have Rudy Gobert last night. And this morning I got treated on ESPN to like a minute and a half of Anthony Edwards highlights from last night, dunking on people, step back threes, driving into the paint, mid-range. Like, what do you want? Like, he's got it, like all of it. And like, he's not cocky. He's like I guess it is a little bit of cockiness. It's cockiness, but not overly cocky. It's just like it's hard to explain. He's got that dog in him, man. Like, it's just something about him. He's going to go get those points, and he can do it in a variety of ways. Like, he can do it in a variety of ways more than Brunson can, I believe. And he just seems like he's going to grow into a type of player that teams fear having to guard. I don't know if you fear Brunson, even though he's on a 40-point streak or whatever right now, that only Jordan has done, which puts him in a category by itself. The 93 Jordan did it in the NBA Finals. Brunson's done it 4 games in a row right now. They're the only 2, which is nuts. But Anthony Edwards, man, is the future. Like, I'm becoming more and more convinced every time I watch him play. And his demeanor and his personality, it all fits. Like, there's nothing that's out of place. You never hear anything about him off the court. Man, Minnesota's here. And Denver, like I said yesterday, Denver's in danger. Denver's in serious danger right now because I don't know what they can do to fix this.
Man, I feel dumb saying that all these games were going to be close between Minnesota. Man, they massacred Denver. They guarded Denver so good.
Tight, yeah.
It was hard, man. I mean, Denver couldn't get shots off. Jokic had 16 points. 16 points. And when Aaron Gordon has the most points with the Denver Nuggets, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's a win. That's a win for the opposite team.
8 points. No, there's no. You can't do that. Not at all. No.
Murray had what? I know Murray went like 3 for 18 or something.
Him and Porter Jr. both had 8 points between each other. It was not good. It was bad.
And Jamal Murray got a little frustrated last night, didn't he?
Yeah, he threw his heat.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Do you think Jamal Murray should be suspended for what he did? If people that don't know, he threw a heating pad out onto the floor during live action in the second quarter of the game. And I think it's not the first time he's done something like that. Should he be suspended for game 3?
You got to look at it. I mean, if you're the league, you have to look at it because think about it. What would they have done if it was Boogie Cousins, Draymond Green, any of those guys? They would suspended them on the spot. So what do you do?
Yeah, but it's the playoffs.
I know, I get it. No, like I said, I don't want to see it because I want all the players on there so we can make sure that we have an even argument about who's the best team in the West. I want them to play, but the league may have to step in and do what the league does. Who knows? Rudy Gobert didn't play yesterday, and he had a family emergency. So,
also shout out Rudy Gobert having a child now into the world. You could say that Rudy Gobert might be building his own kingdom, just like Cody Rhodes.
Wasn't that the dude that gave everyone COVID during the NBA? Wasn't he the dude that got the COVID through NBA?
He was the one that touched all the microphones. Like,
that's right.
Before, but he's literally patient zero. He was the first one to test.
My man ushered in COVID to the NBA, and now he just ushered in a new child to the NBA.
He was literally the one like the night before the world shut down. He was at the podium. He was like touching all the microphones with his hands, like trying to joke.
Real.
And then the next day he tested positive for COVID, and everybody's like, "What is COVID?" And then everything fell apart.
I'm in a professional studio right now, so I won't be touching all the microphones. That wouldn't be quite the face of the company. And for our wrestling fans here, you guys know Tuesdays means Top Rope Tuesdays. Mike's become a staple. He's done his wrestling podcast throughout the week. I'll drop the mic. We'll be back tomorrow as part of your Wrestling Wednesday card on Tobacco Road on the YouTube channel. But Mike, you were big into Cody Rhodes, big time, finishing his story. You were there in Philadelphia. There's reactions all over your social media handles, everything about he finally did it. And I can't, replicate the excitement in your voice. but we're a month removed. It was April 7th when he won the title. We're now at May 7th. So 30 days later, I'm seeing people on social media say Cody's story is boring. He's not doing anything, even though he had an incredible match against AJ Styles this past weekend at Backlash. But then you look on the other side. Roman lost the title. Roman's vanished for the last month. But now we're getting, Solo Sikoa starting to do some stuff. He's introducing Tama Tonga, and then Tonga Loa gets introduced this past weekend. So I would beg to differ. I think the Bloodline story is a lot more interesting than Cody's story in the first month removed from WrestleMania. Mike, do you agree or disagree with me on that?
Look, I am in the party where, yes, I would agree. The Bloodline story, a little bit more interesting right now. Don't get me wrong. It is. And this is exactly what I had told to you guys on this very show about a month and a half ago when I said the Bloodline story would get more interesting once Roman didn't have the title. And look at that. A self-fulfilling prophecy took place. That's exactly what's happening. Now, that's not to besmirch and put talk down on Cody Rhodes' title run, because he's only been the champion for a month. So I leave you with some words from the people's champion, the planet's champion, former planet champion, Mr. Daniel Bryan, when I say that the fans are just fickle. Fickle, fickle, fickle. You wanted Cody to win. You got Cody to win. Now you don't like Cody. We knew it was going to happen inevitably, that there would be a small, subsection of fans that were going to turn or turn their back on Cody. Look, he's been the champion for a month. You said it, Mike. You said it right there. Let things heat up progressively, because we're only in the first premium live event after WrestleMania. We still have King and Queen of the Ring. We have Clash at the Castle. We've got the Bash in Berlin. We've got SummerSlam. You've got 5 premium live events coming up with more than likely 5 Cody Rhodes title defenses. When was the last time you're going to get 6 WWE Championship title defenses, or 5 in a row on each premium live event? Because you're not getting it with Roman Reigns. So I'm happy Cody is the champion. I am happy with the Bloodline progression of the story that we've been seeing, because Solo Sikoa has a bloodlust like I've never seen. And, not to quote another podcaster, but I heard it and I'll quote it. Sam Roberts hit the nail right on the head. Solo Sikoa is Michael Corleone right now. And this is about to heat up, and it's going to get good, in the words of my man Booker T.
Now, before I kick it to Shannon for his thoughts on what the most interesting story is, Mike, you bullied someone into buying Cody merch?
Nah. Bullied is a strong word. We don't bully. Be a star here in this household. Bullying's not cool. Maybe a little persuasion, maybe a little sales tactics came into play. 4 sides of the ring, they were easily swayed by my charm, I guess.
Oh, man. Don't be a bully, be a star.
Here.
Shannon is like Braun Strowman. He doesn't like bullies. Shannon, do you like this Bloodline story better than what Cody's done so far as champion?
Absolutely. I mean, the wrinkles in this story are incredible. The Tonga Loa add-on, I saw that coming, but I didn't see it at Backlash. It was only a matter of time. We're going to get GOD versus the Usos, hopefully. And I'm the same way. When I saw Tonga Loa, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. I'm like, we're going to get this. Because Roman is technically a free agent. He withdrew from the draft, meaning he can go to SmackDown or he can go to Raw at any time. So we don't know what could happen, but what I'm thinking is going to happen is he's going to align himself with the Usos if the Usos get back together on Monday Night Raw. And there's going to be that civil war between the Bloodline yet again. And I pray to God that Triple H gets this right and doesn't do like WCW did with the civil war between the NWO. That was not good. I mean, the Civil War and then bringing them all together and making one big super NWO pretty much spelled despair, with Hulk Hogan being the way he is and Kevin Nash not being able to be healthy and Scott Hall with his addictions. All the stuff went to crap and it was not good. And then they ended up putting it up in NWO 2000. We don't know what that was. We don't know what that was. So anybody who sits back here and says I'm a grumpy old fan over this stuff right here, I'll point out stuff from where we came from. It wasn't all great. We had some great stuff and great moments, but it wasn't all great. And that was one of the wrinkles in wrestling that was not good at all. And that spelled despair for WCW. So, but I think that Triple H will see that and he'll make something good out of this, because this is must-see TV. The Bloodline has been incredible and it's going to get better. And I'll travel cheap. So let's cover.
So a couple things real quick from what Mike and Shannon both touched on. It's already different than the NWO Civil War storyline because it's so layered. There's so many things that are layered months in advance. So when they actually go down, you're like, oh, that makes sense because remember what happened, blah, 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 back then or whatever. Them bringing in Tongaloa before Jacob Fatu, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even know they had signed Tongaloa. Like I had no idea. So when he popped up and the announcers are making, Bullet Club references on air and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're actually doing it without having to put Bullet Club back together. Like they're actually incorporating Tongaloa is actually Haku's actual son. Mm-hmm. Tama Tonga is his adopted son. Mm-hmm. So they are actually part of the Bloodline. Have always been. Actually, God and the Usos were going back and forth on social media a couple years ago about who the better tag team was or whatnot. A lot of people don't know that was kind of tongue in cheek. They all know each other. Roman knows Tom. They all know each other. They're all family. So now it sets it up where if they really want to do this and angle it towards like a Survivor Series type thing where it starts to steamroll at SummerSlam or whatnot, you still have Jacob who signed and was backstage at WrestleMania. I'm starting to think now he might align himself with the Usos and like the other side here because isn't Jacob their brother or
I think he's either a brother or he's in that side of the tree.
He's on that side of the family. Yeah.
He's on that side of the tree.
He's not on the Hanoi side. He's on the Fatu side. And then there's Zilla. Zilla's still out there too, Jacob's brother. And I'm trying to figure this out. And it's like, I could see them the way the pacing's going. The problem is Jay has become such a huge star that it's kind of made it where, what do you do here? Because you can't just bring him back into the fold and make him a Uso and follow around with Roman. He's become a main event Jey Uso, like literally, he's become the name. That entrance in France at Backlash is ridiculous. That he had coming in. I've seen people call it the greatest of all time. I wouldn't go that far, but it was
up there, man.
Yeah, it was a spectacle watching it. He's become a legit main event player. So I don't know how this was going to affect the story, but in terms of being worried that it turns into NWO Black and White versus Wolfpack, the problem with that story was they didn't have anything after it. Like they didn't, WCW never really wrote things past a certain point. And at that point, half the roster was NWO. Like literally, like you were either wearing a black and white shirt or a red shirt. And when the whole finger poke of doom happened, which is really what destroyed that storyline, everything was fine until they did the finger poke of doom. And even after they did the finger poke of doom, they still kept the black and white around. Like they basically became jobbers. It was like 12 of them, 13 of them. They were just jobbers, like Stevie Ray and those guys. And then they made NWO Elite, which was just the six. It was Buff, Scott Steiner, Hall, Nash, Hogan, and Lex Luger. That was the six. And that didn't really work in the end either, because at that point they didn't know where to go. This feels like it's pushed out beyond the end of this year. And finally, shout out to Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman is telling this story without saying words. Like he's literally, his expressions on his face are conveying what's going on. I thought it was so cool. Solo and God seeing Jay backstage and just looking at him, and Solo kind of just shrugging and walking off, like, yeah, we'll see you down the line. And then Paul coming behind him, just looking at Jay like, help me. Like literally the look on his face was, help me, please. Like this has got out of control. And I don't even think Roman knows what's going on. And then he walks off and Jay kind of felt it. And you can see the Jay's face. That's chef's kiss wrestling writing right there. Like you can't get no better than what they're doing right now. The Bloodline by far are still the top story in WWE, even with Roman not being there. And I'm worried about Cody, because Cody's starting to feel like a transitional champion at this point. I just don't feel this juice for him right now. Who's his rival? Like they built it for Roman for a year. Roman's not there. So what do you do now with Cody? Do you have him fight AJ again? Like, do you elevate Finn? What do you do? Like, I don't know who's next for him to fight.
Well,
I'm
I will say I'm going to disagree 100%. Cody doesn't feel like a transitional champion at all. It just feels like right now we're in the mud right now where they right here, put it on the board. Thank you, Mike. You took the words right out of my mouth. They didn't start building challengers until after WrestleMania, right? They didn't start building challengers up for after WrestleMania. So booking like a mark, hit the nail right on the head, took the words right out of my head. So I agree to that sentiment. I don't think he's a transitional champion. Things are going to ramp up, guys. We have to. Triple H's WWE is one that he does not give it to you all at once. He slowly guides you to where you need to go. And obviously, this Cody Rhodes title run, it's going someplace. We just have to keep watching to see where it's gonna turn out, because maybe we get AJ Styles Cody Rhodes Part 2 at King and Queen of the Ring. Probably be another banger. Probably be another 5-star classic. Get your stars out. Put them on your paper like the substitute teacher would on your test. And get ready, because I think that could be the direction. Then I think, you follow up with a couple of different guys. Maybe you throw Shinsuke back in the mix for the title, which obviously we've seen it a few times, but so be it. That's another feud for him. Maybe we get Karrion Kross in the mix. Maybe we get the Judgment Day. Maybe we get LA Knight. I prefer, I wish LA Knight would have gotten traded to Raw or something, but there's a lot of options here with Cody Rhodes. So I wouldn't say transitional champion. Very strong word there. Bloodline story definitely better. I will agree to that. I'm not going to sit here and defend, that side of it, but Bloodline story great right now. Can't wait to see where this progresses. And truthfully, I want to see some women in the Bloodline. Let's get some women in the Bloodlines. Let's get Naomi included. Let's get Nia Jax included. Let's go out there. Let's go find the Tongan sisters. Let's get them included. They're on the indies right now. They're a part of the family. Let's get some women in the Bloodline, and let's set up the Bloodline women's side of this story. And let's start seeing the women dominate in the women's division.
I'll push back on that just a little bit, because now you're pushing more towards NWO Black and White. Like, now there's too many. Like, you know what I mean? I think them split and 4 each with Paul kind of in between is the nice mix. And then once that's done, I don't know if they merge into one and just run over everybody for a year, or because at that point you're talking about 8 people with like 2 tag teams, and you know what I mean? Like, it's. And that's just the dudes. But
I feel like you could easily put Naomi on the side with Jimmy and Jay and Roman. Let's just say that's the direction they go. And then you could put Nia on the side of with Solo. At least you have women involved in that. I just think that's the one. Yeah. I just think that's the one thing missing from. I don't know. Personally, I think with all of the Bloodline women you have, I think there's something to look at there. And I don't think it would be a Wolfpack situation. I think it would be the women are getting part of the most prominent storyline in WWE history ever.
And I've always thought like what Naomi would look like in the Bloodline, since Jimmy Uso is right there and she's married to Jimmy in real life. That could be quite the feat. Mike was very respectful and professional today, not even going up for his Cody fandom. He was split evenly right down the middle, even though he bullied the people at 4 sides of the ring into buying Cody merch. And Sean will be back on Out of Pocket sometime this week. He loves the pickup of Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Shan, Des, and I are going to stay in studio real quick, do that age well. Mike is a busy guy, but you can go find his wrestling podcast, Mouth Off with Mike. Go subscribe on YouTube. And Mike, we will talk a little more wrestling a little later on.
Yeah, let's talk a little wrestling later on. Fellas, love you all. Be good. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Later, man. Good luck, buddy.
See you, man.
And Mike's doing incredible stuff. He's a busy guy, so I'm very glad that he was able to hop on with us real quick. But we have a few more minutes left here on Out of Pocket, and you know how we end every single show. We end it with that aged well. Shannon, I wanted to give you the game Cavaliers Celtics. You and I were both on the show yesterday, and Carson was on the show. He's a big Cavaliers guy, but we're getting game 1, Cavs Celtics. I'm going to just go ahead and ask for the series. What do you think happens? How many games do you think it lasts? And who makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals?
As much as I hate to say it, I really don't trust the Boston Celtics that much. I know they got better. Porzingis is still getting a little banged up. Um, I don't know if it's I don't trust Boston that much, or I don't trust Cleveland that much. And I'm going with I don't trust Cleveland that much because outside of Donovan Mitchell, who do they have? Donovan Mitchell is killing it right now, doing a wonderful job. But in the game 6 with the Magic, Donovan Mitchell put up numbers, but his squad kind of was like, okay, man, here you go, here you go, and that was it. And they clawed out of that game. They gave the game 7. They got to game 7, and then they just tore up Orlando because they just ran out of steam. Orlando was just done. After that, they gave all they had in that game 6, and that was it. But I say that Boston is going to win it, and I think they're going to win it in 6. It won't be too down to the wire. I think Boston will just get it. Cleveland will give them everything they got. They'll just run out of gas, and Boston will go.
You almost caught me off guard. I thought you were going to go the other way when you said you didn't trust Boston.
Nah.
Now, if Jimmy was healthy, according to Jimmy Butler, the Heat would have beat the Boston Celtics, and Pat Riley didn't necessarily enjoy that comment the other day, unfortunately. Des, when we look at the Western Conference and the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder, you've been on record of talking about how these younger teams are just getting a nucleus together rather than relying on stars. How do you think this matches up? Because it feels like OKC is a bunch of guys playing together, and then Dallas, you have Kyrie and Luka.
Okay, I haven't really had a chance to see OKC, to be honest. I know I think they're the youngest team in the playoffs. They might be one of the youngest teams in the league. And they benefited from Chet missing last year completely with the injury in the preseason. And he came in second in the Rookie of the Year votes this year that was announced yesterday. It'd be fun to get to Minnesota, OKC in the Western Conference Finals, the two young squads going at it, but I think it's going to revert back to the mean, and Dallas will probably be the one that gets the Western Conference Final, just because I don't think OKC is ready yet to take on a team with Luka and Kyrie Irving on it. Kyrie Irving is like the vet here of the playoffs that's left. Everybody else has gone home except for Kyrie. If you really think about it, there's nobody really out there still that has a lot of playoff experience except for Tatum and Brown over in Boston, but they haven't won anything. So Kyrie's the only one left that's actually has a ring that's been in these playoffs for longer than 7-8 years. Everything else is really young. Luka really hadn't had. People think Luka's old, but Luka's not old. Luka's like in his mid-20s. So, I mean, he's fairly young himself. I'm going to go with Dallas to get past OKC as it stands today. I'm going to pick the Mavs, but I don't feel good about it.
How many games do you think that goes?
6. Let's say 6. If Dallas wins this first one here tonight, is it tonight? They play game 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they steal this one on the road tonight, then I'll say 6. If not, it might be a home and home type deal. They might go 7, but I don't feel like OKC is ready yet. And a lot of it's because I'm old school and I'm used to in the NBA. You kind of got to bang your head against the wall a couple times against a team before you can move forward. And OKC and Minnesota haven't had that yet. So I was thinking it was going to be Denver for Minnesota, but they skipped ahead the 3 years the Bulls couldn't beat the Pistons and just got to when they did. So, and they swept the Pistons at that. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Mavs to beat OKC and meet the Wolves in the Western Conference Finals.
Wow. And for these series, I'm leaning towards Boston in 5. I'm leaning towards OKC in 7, and then we'll be back for Out Pocket on Thursday. But Knicks lead the series against the Pacers 1-0. And I think the Knicks get it in about 5 games. But yeah, if you guys want to go somewhere to bet on these NBA going on. There's also NHL playoffs. The chase for the cup is on. And if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. This week, all North Carolina customers can place a pregame moneyline bet on Carolina. And if they lead by at least 2 goals at any time during the game, you win, even if they end up losing the game. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Tobacco Road. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code Tobacco Road only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543. 21 plus. North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. One early win per opt-in customer. Max bet limits apply. Token expires at the start of the game. See dkng.co/ice for wagering eligibility and terms. Again, shout out again. Shout out again to Mike from Mouth Off with Mike for hopping in on the show. We're seeing some love. Max saying go Mavs. And Elizabeth sharing Mike. Thanks for Mike. I'm assuming that's the other Mike for bringing up.
Bringing the women into the blood. I wasn't saying I don't want women in the bloodline. I was saying I don't want a 18-member bloodline, like regardless, male or female. Like I don't think they need them in there, but they've kind of kept it in their back pocket this whole time. They've mentioned Naomi in the interviews and stuff, so it's in the air. But I wouldn't think it's going to happen. So,
well, we'll see, and we'll see who Cody's next challenger is as we go on. I'll have my wrestling podcast tomorrow. Shannon and I and Ryan did an episode of the Cat Cave last week that you guys can go watch back on demand. We're going to take a little break as the season's winded down after the draft, and we'll be back a little later on in July, August timeframe. But episode 50 is now on demand, available for your viewing pleasure. And as I mentioned, Out of Pocket will be back Thursday afternoon, 12:30. But for myself, Michael Davis, it's been Shannon Smith and producer Desmond Johnson. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day, your entire Wednesday, and we'll be back Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time for Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. So go subscribe right now.